Hi folks, today we're going to be making some pizzas in my masonry furnace at the Hobbit House. This is a very handy door from the outside wood pile to inside the house, so you don't have to track in a bunch of wood stuff. This is the inside of that wood door, so I can just pull wood out and not have to worry about going through a doorway or letting in a lot of cold air. So this is a single charge of wood, so that lasts 24 hours. I put it in here. It's all loaded up. I've got my wood and my kindling and some paper, and then I have a fresh air duct that I put in place once I light it, and that sucks air from outside, and I get a better draw with the cold air. Cold air coming in makes it come out the chimney faster. It also keeps the drafts, any drafts that I might have in the house, from sucking in cold air to replace the warm air that's getting sucked up the chimney. So if it's cold air getting sucked up the chimney, then it doesn't have to use up the warm air. Okay, time to make the dough. Um, I use a bread maker just to rise the dough and to mix it and to rise it, so I don't have to do as much kneading, and it also gives me a good constant rising temperature. So that's what this is about. Here's the little paddle that spins in there. Um, and I start out with some sourdough. You can see the sourdough is working good. The lid's all puffed up. Sourdough in there, and then I'll add to this in a moment because it keeps needing water and flour because it keeps eating that and creating the enzyme bacteria that makes it bubble up. Then I put salt in, about a half a teaspoon, and yeast, because I didn't give it enough time today with the sourdough. I forgot about it this morning, so I put a tablespoon of yeast in there. And flour. I just get bulk bags of 25-pound bags of organic unbleached or whole wheat flour, and use that. I don't like to measure anything. I collected a bunch of dock seeds, which is a weed that grows out in the field, but it's really nutritious. So these are the dried seeds, and I put a good handful of those in my coffee grinder here, along with some oats and whole grain, rye grain berries, and then I grind it up. After it's finished, there's also flaxseed in that that I ground up as well. Pretty much anything that I have around that's grain oriented, I just throw in there and grind it up. Then I just add some water. Sometimes I save potato water if I've boiled up some potatoes or boiled some squash. I'll save that water. and put that in instead of just regular water. And I basically just add water until I feel like it's fairly loose, and then I'll put it in the bread maker, and it'll just knead it and heat it a little bit so it can rise, and then I'll knead in more flour to the right texture. So I like it to be a little bit loose, somewhere between bread dough and batter. So it's kind of loose like that. Oh, right, there was one other ingredient I forgot to put in. You always have to have the main things for bread are you got to have salt, you got to have a rising agent, and you have to have some sort of sugar so that the yeast can eat the sugar. So I put some maple syrup in here. And that's it. And I put it in the bread maker. Set it to the dough setting, and it starts. And you can see it's starting to mix it in there. In an hour and a half, it'll be ready to knead and add more flour into it, and I can roll out the pizzas. While we're waiting for the dough, I'll show you how my masonry furnace works. As you can see, the fire is burning nicely with the air coming in from the hose here, the intake. And this is the firebox, and then above the fire there's a chamber there, and then there's a narrow passage right about here, long, like maybe 4 by 12-inch wide passage. The air goes up and it goes into this chamber, which is, I'll show you, I can't show you now because smoke will come out, but I'll show you when I do the pizzas. But that's the pizza oven. So that opens up, and there's a cable here with a weight and a pulley, so when I open the door it stays open. These all doors came off of old stoves that I found at the junkyard and stuff. As did the bread maker, by the way. That you can always get them at yard sales for like $5. People buy them and they never use them. They use them once and they throw them away. This door also came off of an old stove. When I looked into buying a door for masonry furnaces, they wanted a couple $1,000s for the doors. So this, I just bought a stove, a junk stove, and sawed off the front, sawed off this whole frame here, and kept the door and the frame, and inserted that. And then there's a clean out down here. So the embers go from the fire, they trickle down through into this clean out area, and I can open that little door and clean it out. And then these 2 round openings, also when you try to buy them from the stove supply, they want $50 each for something like that. These are actually just paint can frames with the paint can lid and spray painted. You really don't have to open them much. They're just for fly ash that comes maybe every 10 years you have to clean up, take a vacuum and suck out the fly ash. So basically the way it works, you make the fire here, it burns inside there, it goes up, the heat goes up through, the heat and the exhaust go up through this narrow slot here, and they go into this secondary chamber here, which is the bread oven, and it recombusts again, and then the air goes up and it heats up this whole mass up here, which I have some heating, I have some pipes in there for water that gets circulated under the floor. And then the heat goes, the exhaust goes around like this, and it goes down these narrow channels that are about 3.5 inches wide that go all the way back. So they're 3.5 inches wide by 3 feet deep, and it goes down over those. It goes down, and then that's what these ash clean out, the fly ash are for. So there, it goes down here, and then it goes underneath. It goes around the back of the firebox, around the back of the ash clean out, around the back, and then it goes through here. And I have so there's a chimney basically going horizontally through here, and then it goes up, and then this is a damper that I can open and close. But when it's open, like now, it goes up, and then it goes horizontal again into the wall, and then through the ground, and then up and out a stump chimney, which I'll show. This is the chimney for the Hobbit house. This one that's not smoking is to the wood stove. They're basically old locust logs that were a little bit hollow, and I hollowed them out some more and then you can sort of see the metal stovepipe in that one. So this stove is just for springtime use when I don't want to use this whole heating thing. This just works just regular, like a regular wood stove. You just open the door, whoop, got a lot of ash in there. You just put wood in there, it goes up, and there's a separate chimney. Start a fire, use that whole charge of wood that I showed you. That takes about 3 hours to burn. It's burning with this vent is open all the way, and the vent up here is open all the way. The draft going to the exhaust is open all the way. So it burns really hot and fast. It can be a couple thousand degrees in there actually, because it's all fire brick. And there's actually three chimneys. There's a fire brick chimney, and then there's a little space between that, and then there's a whole brick structure with another little half-inch space, and then there's this whole stone on the outside of that. And the reason for that is that if it was all connected, if it was all cemented together, the heat would be too much in certain spots and it would all crack to pieces. So this way the firebox, which is all fire brick, can take a lot of heat and it can expand and contract and move independently of the next wall, which absorbs some of the heat, and then it permeates through to the next wall. So basically, you fire this up. 3 hours later, it's done. It's completely out. So then you take this pipe away and you shut it down. You close that damper up here. Now all the heat has to stay in here, and it slowly migrates out through the various walls. And so this never gets this gets pretty hot here and here, but the rest of this you can touch anytime, and it'll stay nice and warm, and it radiates this heat gradually. And then plus I have all these water pipes in there that are hooked up to a pump over here, a circulator pump, and it pumps it down through the floor, and there's coils in the floor. So the cement floor also radiates heat like this. So every 24 hours you have to make a fire, and that's it. And then you start another one 24 hours later. And it's pretty efficient with wood. Takes me about, I'm guessing about 3 cords of wood to make it through the whole winter. All right, let's begin. So I pour the batter in onto the counter there. It's, like I said, it's really loose, which is fine because if I make it too dry, then it overflows in the hopper in the machine there. So this way, if it's loose, it develops well, and then I can just keep adding dry flour to it to get the quantity that I actually want. Once it gets rubbery enough that it doesn't fall apart like that, then that's basically what I'm looking for. I cut it into pieces and make individual pizzas. Flatten it out a little bit. It's always good to have lots of flour on the counter so it never sticks. I like to use a bottle for a rolling pin. It just seems like it's easier, more maneuverable than a rolling pin. I get the size that's just big enough for my paddle, my peel. I'm limited to a certain size with my pizza oven opening. Tomato paste is what I use, and then I just add some olive oil and sun-dried tomatoes, chopped up garlic, spices, and I just smear that all around. I find that using tomato paste instead of using tomato sauce makes a drier pizza a lot more zesty tomato flavor. It's more intense. I add some more seasoning. Onions. And I grate some cheese, and I use a combination of different cheeses. I use cheddar cheese and mozzarella cheese. put in just a little bit of something stronger, like Assaggio or Asiago, I guess it is, Asiago. Take my brush and clean out the fly ash off the surface of the bread oven. And we're ready for the pizza. Slip the peel right under there. That's why you want to have plenty of flour in the pizza. So you can slip it under and then slide it right on. Tight fit here. You go on an angle sometimes. Shoot right off. There it is. And since the temperature in the oven is much hotter than a normal oven, it only takes maybe initially, the first pizza maybe 5 minutes or so to cook. So you really have to keep an eye on it, otherwise it'll burn. And there we go. Bon appetit. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and eat plenty of pizza.